Welcome to your flow for the legs. I'm so happy you're here. Please take a comfortable seat and close your eyes. For today's class, we will flip the palms up, press your thumb and index finger together. Gyan Mudra helps us focus and balance. And often when we're working through yoga sequences that involve lots of leg work, they incorporate quite a bit of balance. So I like to start this way just to encourage that kind of wily energy of the hands to cycle back into the body. So in this moment, you might start to feel some relaxation through the fingers, the elbows, the shoulders. And with your next exhale, I encourage you to send some roots deep through the sitting bones, down into the mat, the floor, and the earth beneath that. This energy is called apana. So we'll keep that energy strong through class. And then with your next breath, discover your prana, that uplifting energy from the pelvis to the crown of the head. Take 3 breaths, just connecting to that Sushumna energy force, that channel from the crown of the head down the spine to the earth. And from the earth below you, up the spine to the crown of the head and heavens above. Maintain that connection to your breath as you transition into child's pose, Balasana. Take your knees wide, tap your big toes to touch, sink hips to heels. Sometimes in my first Balasana, I like to do a little semicircle at the hips. And then very slowly lengthen myself down. Take a deep breath here, knowing that this posture is always an option throughout any of your flows that you ever participate in, not just my classes, but on your own time as well. With your next inhale, shift forward, tabletop. We'll start with a little warm up for the legs. Send that right leg back, lean left, and draw a semicircle with the leg, heel toe the foot to the top of the mat. Of course, if you practice with blocks at home, you can take your hands up onto blocks here. Tense your fingertips if you don't have blocks so that you have a little more space to lengthen your chest forward. Now on your inhale, arch the spine and gaze up. On your exhale, pull your hips back, dorsiflex at the foot. You can round the spine here and gaze in. And we'll do that twice more. Inhale, low lunge, arch the spine, gaze up. Exhale, runner's lunge, round the spine, and gaze in. Twice more. Feels so good. Arrive back through center. Heel toe your foot to the right. Place your hands on the inside here and just sink your hips. You can ground one hand. That left hand might find an easier way down. Maybe right hand even finds the knee. So again, we're just warming up through the legs and the pelvis here as we start our practice. You may wish to even lower down an elbow or two. I don't feel like I have that space yet, but I want you to always know that you can play with these practices. So I'm just your guide. You are the best teacher. Let's ground the hands, everybody. Listen carefully. So this right leg will lift up and back, 3-legged dog. Point the toes, scissor the legs apart, big breath. And as you exhale, pigeon pose. Take the knee to the outer right wrist, toes to the left side of the mat. Let's drop that back knee, release the foot. Inhale, arch the spine, gaze up. So there's a sinking at the pelvis that invites us into a forward fold. You can slowly lower one elbow and then the next. And now as you arrive here, kind of like at the beginning of class, I often like to wiggle my hips around. And in this one, it's almost a diagonal rock from the back right corner of the mat to the front left. Really nice. Ground the hands. Lift the back knee. And we'll sweep this right leg up and back. This time it's a scorpion tail. So we'll start with that three-legged dog, but then bend the knee, pull the heel towards your buttocks, and really lift this knee to the sky. So to go deeper, sometimes I like to drop that left heel. Whew, deeper stretch through the posterior chain. Next, sometimes I like to walk the hands a tiny bit closer in. And lastly, as I twist the hips, I really like to square off the shoulders. So see if you can do that too. Give a nice lift to that left armpit so you feel that rotation through the thoracic spine. Beautiful. We'll straighten the legs, square the hips, and release. Big breath and downward facing dog. It's a fairly short dog. And then we'll come forward to tabletop, okay? Second side. Send the left leg back. Shift right, and we'll just take that leg to the top of the mat, heel toe it into place. Hands frame that front foot. Sink your hips to begin. And then inhale, arch the spine, gaze up. Exhale, round the spine. Flex that front foot and gaze in. We'll do that a few times. Inhale, arch the spine, gaze up. Exhale, round and gaze in. And once more through each of those movements. Heel toe the foot to the outside of the mat, placing your hands to the inside here. And see if you can maybe ground your hands this time. Some of you who are really lifted in the hips might even want to tuck your back toes and just draw that knee a little further away to help you descend into your posture. You might want right hand further down, left hand to the knee. Again, just personalize this. Some of you may even wish to drop that elbow. Again, it feels a little much for me this early on in the class. And then listen carefully for the transition. We drop the hand, tuck the back toes, left leg comes up and back. Inhale. Scissor the legs apart, a strong point to those upper toes, and then exhale into that pigeon prep, knee to the outer left wrist. That's really important. So there's enough space for those hips to come through, and you can drop or descend the pelvis. Lengthen the spine and get ready for that little mini fold, hinging at your hips. Just lowering onto your elbows. And then that little diagonal rock, this time from the back left corner to the front right. Good. Ground the hips. Walk your hands in. Scorpion tail. Tuck your back toes. Lift the left leg up. Heel to glutes, knee to sky, okay? So there's a nice vertical stacking of the hips, and then square off your shoulders by giving a micro lift to that right armpit. Quite a nice stretch for the front of the thigh. Let's release very slowly. Downward facing dog. Big breath in and out. Very good. Pouncing dog. Bend the knees. You're on the toes here. Press your hips back, straightening at the arms. And then down dog. On the tips of the toes, we look forward. And you can walk, step, or hop to the top of your mat. Place hands to shins, lengthen halfway. Exhale into your fold. And root to rise all the way up. Hands to heart. I want to open up the feet just a little bit, even without any props. We can do a few things here. So from the top of your mat, place your hands on your hips and just give a little rise up to the toes and back down. Very good. Next, we will just flip the right foot and kind of crunch into those toes, wiggle around. Might hear a couple toes cracking. And we'll do the second side. Flip the left foot.
Spike.
So the reason why we're doing this, we'll come back to the toes and just give that little lift one more time, is that we're moving into warrior one. And I actually don't teach this posture very often. I find it's really intense on the back leg. But for this really awesome sequence today, I wanted to move through warrior one, warrior two, and warrior three. So here we go. I promise I will give you options. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, deep hinge at the hips as you fold down. Now you will feel this in the backs of the legs, and we are working in those hamstrings today. So I want you to lengthen halfway, but keep your fingertips down. So if you're someone that always comes to your shins, try to keep your fingertips down here. There can be as much bend in your knees as you need. Next, from your heels to your hips, start to lift. I want you to broaden the sitting bones apart by imagining that you're scrubbing your feet further apart. Feel that? Feel super nice across the sacrum. And when I do that, I get a lot of space at the back of my pelvis that allows more depth in the fold. So you might notice that you can actually straighten out those legs just a little bit more. You might notice that you can actually reach behind you, not for opposite elbows, but reach behind you and then tip the fingers down towards the heels. And then lastly, with your own arms, push yourself forward without falling. But I want you to push a bit more weight to the front of your foot. Get those hips high. Take a couple breaths. Nice. We want those calves warm for warrior one. Let's lengthen to prepare. We'll step the right foot back to begin the sequence. Now plant your back heel. So if you're like, ooh, I don't practice warrior one, Sarah, you can stay on your back toes, okay? The whole sequence can be done like that. If you're ready for warrior one, plant the back heel, keep the front knee quite bent, and we'll place the hands up on the hips, kind of like a turbo position. Pull the left hip back, draw the right hip forward, and lengthen your spine long. Good. From here, we'll slowly push from the hips to the heels to help us rise up. And I want you to really notice your back leg. Can you anchor through your back heel and then press through the big toe mound? Sweep those arms forward and up. Deep breath. So the shoulders are over the hips. Warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Nice work. Take it into warrior two here. Open the hips and windmill the arms to the side. So you notice that my feet kind of did a little wiggle. Ideally, the front heel lines up with the arch of the back foot now. The front knee is the exact same position, stacked over the heel. Let's flip the palms, soften the elbows, and then straighten from your heart to your hands again. So you just feel that helped your shoulders to relax. Ooh, I'm feeling my legs. Okay, hands to hips. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Back towards the front of the mat we go. So let's take the back foot, shorten our stance, and square the hips back to that initial position that we had. There's one extra pose in here. Before we take our warrior three, we take a little mini Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Hinge at your hips. Trust me, it'll feel awesome. Go ahead and just lengthen. And now that you know how to fold, feel that lifting of the sitting bones. Notice the spine stayed really long. Feels super nice on the back of that front leg. Hands can either stay at the hips, you could reach for opposite elbows behind you, or that reverse prayer position, elbows broad. Okay, we're ready for warrior 3. Go ahead and release your hands back to your hips. And I'm just going to wiggle so I stay in the frame, but you guys can stay where you are. From this position, rise up halfway, give a bend to your front knee. Come onto your back toes. Inhale, lengthen, straighten the front leg and hover the back toes. So notice that really nice little position. We go from here to here. And maybe do that a couple times. You could hold onto a stool or a wall beside you. Once you're feeling solid in the left leg, plug the left hip in, lead with the right inner thigh and the right heel. Either stay here or bring your arms back behind you, out to the side or out in front. Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3, big breath. Root to rise, Tadasana. Beautiful. You stay where you are. I'll flip sides here. We're at the top of the mat. Big breath. Lift your arms overhead. And now from this lifted position, let's play with the feet. Rise to the balls of the feet and back down. Keep your arms overhead. Come to the top of one foot and the other. Inhale, look up. Exhale, hinge at your hips to fold. And again, those hands come right down to the earth. We're challenging ourselves today. Lengthen halfway. And exhale into that deeper fold. There's a hinge at the hips, a softness at the knees, and the hands come back. So again, we're not clasping, but as if we were elbows to knees, and then fingertips to heels. Go ahead and push your own shins forward, moving that weight a little forward. See that adjustment? So from here to here. And that's going to help me as soon as I lift so that rather than being back here, I'm way over here. Good. Lift from your heels up to your hips, broaden the pelvis, deepen your breath. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Step your left foot all the way back. Again, you can either do warrior 1 from the tops of the toes or plant the back heel. Your feet are about hips distance apart to begin. Place your hands on your hips and just get into that turbo stance. Now press your right big toe mound and plug the outer right hip in. This will lift you up a little bit. Keep that. Stack yourself up. Now anchor through that back leg. Push through the outer edge of your back foot. Sweep your arms forward and up. And then find your pose, that balance between stretching in both directions at the legs and squaring your hips forward. Right hip back and in. Big breath. Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. Let's take it into warrior 2. Go ahead and open your arms. Heel toe the front foot in so the heel lines up with the arch of the back foot. Stack shoulders over hips and soften those shoulders from the ears. Place your hands on your hips for pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. We straighten the front leg a little bit and shorten the stance. Back to the short edge of the mat we go. So we square the hips off, pull the right hip back, lift the chest, and exhale, hinge forward. Traditionally, this is practiced with a much shorter stance. In my yoga style, I really like a long stance to get that nice alignment at the spine. So you can play with that, okay? Wherever you are, make sure your feet are about hips distance apart again. That'll really help you find the space to fold. You can keep your hands on hips, reach for opposite elbows, or play with that reverse prayer, your choice. Slowly release hands to hips. And again, you stay where you are. I just need to wiggle a little bit so I stay in the frame. Warrior 3. Soften the front knee, come onto your back toes, and stand up a bit. And then this is where we start to straighten the front leg and give a little lift to the back. We might do that a couple times. Starting to feel, what does that right leg feel like when I'm asking it to support? How can I activate the right foot? And then here we go, transition the weight to the right foot. Lead with the right or the back inner thigh as you push out through the heel. Either stay here, bring your arms out to the side, or all the way in front. Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. When you're ready to release, root down to rise up. Hands to heart. Tadasana. Let's take it down. Reach your arms up. Nice work today. Hinge at your hips to fold. Inhale, lengthen. And step back, tabletop. From tabletop, child's pose. Either knees wide or this time an option to take your knees close. Arms behind you for a clearing breath. You're welcome to stay here for as long as you wish. Or slowly rise up. Place your hands together in front of your heart. Close your eyes. From my heart to each of yours, namaste.